Welcome back to CBC Newfoundland and Labrador's special series, Inside the Classroom. We've got teachers, principals, and school counselors from across the province in studio, breaking their silence, letting us in on what it's like to do their jobs during challenging times. In this segment, we're going to focus on behavior, not just how students conduct themselves, but parents too. And a warning, you will hear some references to offensive language, something that many junior high and high school teachers hear all the time. Really? You hear a lot of swearing in junior high and high school? Can I have a show of hands on that? What? Really? Okay, I need to know more about this. Tell me more about the kinds of language you're hearing in school.
Well, you can often hear the F word said, like I've spoken to a lot of teachers across the province, and it's like ordinary language, and lots of times students are unaware that they're even saying it. And if, for some schools, if you send home the children that use the F word, then a lot of classrooms would be empty.
Really?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, it's part of the common vernacular, and you know it's and if you're out in the hallways and you're just just doing duty, or you can't even stop to comment on the ones that you hear, because you would be doing it all the time. Now, if they're loud, or if they're in an argument with somebody, you'll stop and you'll call them on it. But to send them home, oh, that would be just they would look at you. I don't even know why you're talking to me. So yeah, it's pretty common.
Now, some people might say, okay, I can see this happening in the hallway. Kids will be kids. But the classroom? Are students actually swearing at teachers in anger? When you say that it's not unusual to hear the F word.
I haven't had students swear at me, but like in conversation, I've heard them in the classroom. Like if you gave them, for example, if you gave them an assignment to do that was left by their teacher, like it's not uncommon to hear someone say, "How in the F do I do that?"
And do students actually use the F word when speaking with teachers sometimes? Who wants to take that one?
Absolutely. I hear the F word, the S word, whatever four-letter word that you want to come up with on a regular basis in the hallway, in class, in the cafeteria, before school, after school. Just use like everyday language. And if you say, "Hey, you got to watch your mouth," and they'll say, "Well, what did I say?" And then you say, "Well, just think it back to what you just spoke of." And they're truly confused. And I tell you this, it's not all students, but there is a gross amount of students that are speaking this way. I remember several years ago now, there was a student that was using really crass language, and another teacher colleague friend of mine said, "Hey, do you realize what you're saying? You can't speak that way." And they said, "What's wrong with that? That's what my mom calls me at home all the time." And then it sheds a new light, and now it's kind of like we're devastated, like, wow, this child is going home and this is what they're called every day. And they bring it into the classroom, and it's their every day. It's their norm. It's their norm. That's pretty difficult to digest.
So what? You could hand out an assignment, and in response, a student might use foul language?
Oh, it's a given that you're going to hear it every day. Every day.
Like to your face in class?
Yeah, absolutely. And very rarely has anyone said it to me in anger. It's just that it's everyday talk. It's everyday talk. There's no filter. It's just coming on out. Like I'm saying, "Hello, how are you doing today?" I won't say what they might say.
Okay, you've been nodding your head vigorously. So tell me more about what memories are coming back to you right now, clearly.
Well, I'm an elementary teacher, so I have students that think shut up is a bad word, but I have also had students that will swear on each other, and they'll tell each other to F off. And I've heard of stories where they've told the teacher to do that as well in a primary elementary school as of the last couple of years as well. And I know high school and things like that, it is more prevalent than what it is in the primary elementary classrooms, but it is still there.
Telling each other to F off in elementary school, like actually inside the classroom, or we're talking about they're out on the school grounds?
No, I've had Miss, she just stuck her middle finger up to me. Miss, she just told me to F off. Yes, we've had that. And no, they are not sent home. We usually call the parents and we deal with it in the office that way.
And what happens in the office?
Sometimes they get in-class detention, or they're spoken to and just reprimanded, and parents are called and they're spoken to at home, and then but they're never sent home.
Okay, anyone have any other stories to share about swearing in class? I didn't expect so much participation on this point.
It's not so much about the swearing, but I guess the shift in language that you see more commonly. Some of the more aggressive language that you'd expect to maybe hear in the quarter in the junior high school or high school. We're seeing a shift to hearing more of that in the primary school and elementary, and a lot of I'll kill you, or if you say anything I'll kill you, and other words that you would expect to hear more from maybe an adult male versus a small child. And one of the things we've seen corresponding to that, whether or not it's the cause of that, is a more recent focus of primary age kids playing games such as Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto, and online with, playing with your online opponent who may be a 40-year-old man. And that's becoming much more common. As frightening as it is, we're hearing that across the province.
How young could they go?
Kindergarten?
Kindergarten?
Kindergarten, grade 1, yes.
Do others agree with that? Everyone agrees with that. And so what do you think the impact is on students to be exposed to that at home?
Oh, the impact. There's so many different levels to this, because the developing brain, if you play these games later when you're fully developed and you've got your sense of right and wrong and you've been rewarded for appropriate behavior, it has less of an impact, especially if you have a healthy lifestyle that involves all aspects of a normal life and you play games, one portion of that. But for young developing minds, it can have a very intense impact in terms of the language you use, in terms of how you deal with conflict, in terms of when you have conflict with people, how you're going to react. So we're seeing much more aggressive behavior. Some parents feel that, well, if it's not stressful to the child in the moment, it's not a big deal, like watching The Walking Dead or watching violent movies. If they're not afraid of the movie, maybe it's not detrimental to their development, but that sinks in and that has an impact over time. So you may see more aggressive behavior, and then as they get older, what some people are reporting, they're seeing a connection to more anxious behavior later when they hit adolescence. So you can imagine if you're role-playing war games for hours every day, it has an impact in how your subconscious, how your brain is working, and how you're dealing with stress and anxiety, and how you view the world. So it's a whole other factor that, when you think of everything we deal with, you never expect that that's something we have to deal with behaviorally. So, when you look at a number of years ago, the issue with gaming would be high school students gaming all night long, and you'd be worried about them coming in at 4 o'clock, or going to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, coming to school in the morning, not ready for learning, maybe a little bit more agitated. But to see that now in primary elementary, like for me thinking ahead to where are those kids going to be when they hit grade 11? What's going to happen?
What is the impact of students being online so much on their own time, primarily, I'm thinking? They are texting each other, they're staying in constant contact with each other, there's social media. So what is the impact that you're seeing?
A lot of what Angie said around the exposure to violence and gaming really just goes into the whole culture of access to technology. And while young people have more access now, more information, we automatically think that that's a good thing. That they're available to get all this information now, but it doesn't come. Information and knowledge aren't the same thing. They're not yet ready to access and be able to develop a critical way of analyzing that information that they're getting. So we see that that shift. that we think, oh yeah, they're so much more exposed to things, but they're not ready to handle what they're exposed to, developmentally not ready.
They could be talking to each other through social media and other means, texting all day, all night long, right?
And they do. And right now, and I just finished reading an interesting article on addiction to cell phones, and you really do see that in how a young person's behaving when they don't have access to their phones, even when they have the phone and it's dead. The level of anxiety, they really aren't able to cope well. And we can get into a whole host of issues about young people, their inability to cope. I think that's a whole new,
Now, if they are staying in contact with each other late into the night, it could well be because there is some sort of drama on the go, right? So then what impact does that have when they go to school?
Well, obviously they're too tired to learn. They could fall asleep in class. They could become agitated. They're more irritable, and they're just unable to focus on what you're trying to teach them in the run of a day.
Has anyone else had experience with that?
Yes, the drama continues and it starts, and oftentimes the issues that a lot of the issues that we have in school are because of the use of social media. Not because of social media, but the use of social media. Students have, there's very few students now in schools that don't have some kind of device that they can communicate with. And when we're dealing with class sizes that we deal with, it's very difficult to monitor or police, for lack of a better word, students communicating with each other. And there may be an issue that they have to they'll meet in the bathroom. And all of a sudden that they're, planning certain things. And when you're...
Like what?
Well, it could be something fun, a date, or it could be, that they're going to settle a score because somebody said something about someone else, or it couldn't. We'll call a spade a spade. It could be drug deals going down. It could be a host of different things. And when my colleague mentioned gaming, when a game is released, the next day, the attendance rates are way down, because kids will play that game until they're finished, until they complete the game, and they'll play all night, and they'll continue on through the whole day until it's done. And attendance is, you'll notice a marked drop in attendance the following day after a big game is released.
I find that shocking. Do others agree that that is the case? Wow. Let's talk a little bit about attitudes toward classwork. How are you finding things? You've got lots of students apparently using unpleasant language in class. How do they feel about getting assignments in some cases?
I find students today, there's no real good feeling for a lot of them about getting my work done, doing my best work, and feeling good about it. It's like a lot of whining. And it's not uncommon to go into a high school, say, here's your work that the teacher left for you, and I don't have a pencil, I don't have a book. Hello?
I don't have a pencil?
I don't have a pencil. And I say, look, you're not 3, you're a responsible person, please find a pencil, right? But it's more of a whining type thing. And
Give me an example of the whining.
oh, I don't want to do that, miss. Can we do something else? That type of thing, right?
And do you ever say, sure, okay, if you guys don't want to do this, we'll do something else?
No, because I'm usually a substitute teacher, and I say, I'm sorry, this is what your teacher left, so here you're responsible for doing it. And I'm telling you, more often than not, it does not get done.
With class size now, upwards to 30, 31, 32. I have a colleague of mine that has 35 in her class, 37 in their class. Not sure what happened to that cap. But the behaviors then that we see arising are almost contagious. You see some behaviors decrease when certain students aren't in that classroom that day. When they are in that classroom and they're kind of the instigator, it's contagious, I guess is the best word that I can use. And so not only are you dealing with all kinds of the issues that we've dealt with in the previous discussion about inclusion, but we're talking about major behavioral issues within the confines of class size that we have no control over. And again, I go back to feeling, how can I do this? How can I do this? If I had a smaller class size, you build relationships with students. And I firmly believe if you can build a relationship, you can have a positive influence on that child.
I want to know from the teachers, how many of you are teaching over your cap for this year?
The cap changed this year, so I have a grade 9 class that had we been in last year's cap, it would have been broken down into two. But now
Two classes.
Two classes, yes. And now this year there's just one class, and there's a lot of exceptionalities in that class, over 50%. So
How many students overall?
that's 28 students right now.
Okay. So do you feel that that is a contributor to behavior issues?
Absolutely, absolutely. Anytime you're trying to, provide instruction to a class, you're trying to do your best. You're trying to meet everybody's needs. And when you have a large class with a lot of exceptionalities, you're spread very, very thin. And trying to meet the needs of everybody is a very, very difficult thing.
How do you cope?
You do your best. That's what we do. Our system is run by teachers who are constantly under pressure, but always making it work. I wonder how long that's going to continue. I really do. That's a real concern of mine. I'm retiring. I'm soon out. But there's a lot of young teachers who are feeling a great amount of pressure. And I am very, very worried about the future.
All right, I want to go back to what happens when teachers give out assignments. So how does that go for you?
Generally well, but it's not unusual for me to give out an assignment and someone just say no. And to date, it still takes me for a loop. I'll kind of go, what? And no.
What do you mean no? How could a student say no?
They look at you and do this. No. I kid you not. I kid you not. It's mind-boggling. When I went to school, here I am now telling the story. I don't know. We did the things that the teacher asked us to do. It was a crazy fad. But but now that there's some students take this stance that they don't have to do what they don't want to do, and it's really challenging to deal with that when you're trying to teach a class of 25 to 30 students and you have someone saying, no, I'm not doing that, or passing the assignment blank. That happens. So they will pass in the assignment, maybe with their name on it, maybe not, nothing on it. So it's an in-class assignment. It's not to be taken home. It's not a test. It's an in-class assignment, and it's handed in blank.
Are we talking about one student who might do that in a particular class?
No, I've had experiences when maybe 6 papers came in, no name, nothing on it. I and I feel ridiculous saying this, but I need to tell you because it's the truth. But it makes me feel inadequate as a teacher because I'm going, well, what kind of teacher has classroom management skills that doesn't have their students pass in work? So maybe I'm a failure. That's how I'm feeling. That's how I feel.
So some students aren't doing the assigned work, which leads to more work for you.
Oh, heavens, yes. Absolutely. Because then, you make contact with home, and then you might have to make up a new assignment, and then you're chasing down that assignment, and then you're making another call home to say, well, that assignment wasn't done either. And, it's a rat race.
I know when I pass out an assignment and I say, okay, that's due on Friday. If I got them all back in on Friday, I'd probably drop dead because you're not going to get them all on Friday. But I think the main problem with society today is that we're in so much competition with everything else. Kids are so involved with so much stuff like hockey, and and I've got kids say, "Sir, I can't get that in tomorrow because I got a hockey game tomorrow, so I need to get to practice and make sure I get it all done." That kind of thing. So we are in so much competition.
What do you say when you hear that?
I say, well, school's first, in my opinion, so you need your assignment in. And sometimes I will get a call from parents saying, Paul, can you be a little bit lenient and that kind of thing, and sometimes. Probably in order to stop a big, confusion, you'll probably say, yeah, no problem. I'll let them go till Monday and probably get it in then. But in a lot of cases, we just had our first term report go out, and I had students who had no assignments passed in, and basically told told that, when they get it done, they will pass it into you, and I will accept it.
How many assignments would that be outstanding per student?
Well, I got 25 in my class right now, so the first term I know in some courses, probably three assignments in the first term. That's not passed in.
Are there consequences?
Yes and no.
Why is everyone laughing?
Probably not. Like I said, if you bring it up, you will probably be told, yeah, when they bring it in, correct it and give them the mark for it. In a lot of cases.
The full mark?
Yes.
So where did the consequence part come into your response?
Not very. Not at all. Not at all.
Who else wants to talk about that? Assignments being handed in late and their thoughts about them. Anyone?
As I said, I teach primary elementary, so homework is generally finish-up work. And I can tell you now, in a class of 28, I'm hunting down 8 students any given week, looking for work that's been started in class and not done. Kids just don't do homework anymore. They don't take it home. And there are no consequences in primary elementary because it's primary elementary. And when they pass it in, you correct it and you give them the mark for it. And parents are busy, and as he said, with hockey and things like that, and often you'll say so-and-so couldn't get this done, so you just say, okay, get it done when they can.
All right, so what happens when you talk to parents about these issues?
Most parents that I've dealt with have been very positive, and they have tried to work with their child to get it done and assure me. And most students do pass it in when they get it done, but you realize you're dealing with a class of 28 students. So that's a lot of students, and then work doesn't get done sometimes, and sometimes parents are too busy, and with a class size is increasing, trying to get and keep up with the work that's not passed in becomes a big challenge for teachers overall.
I do know colleagues across the province that teach other courses, and like when you got an English teacher who students can pass in their assignment sometime during the year, that makes an incredible workload for that teacher also. And they have to correct that assignment, and and now I'm saying also that there are wonderful students who pass in their work and who work diligently to get their work done. But when they look at their fellow students across the way and say, well, they have until the end of June to pass it in, why can't I have it in the end of June? There's no incentive, really. And the other thing is that some parents will be very supportive with you and say, yes, we will work with this student. But you do have the parents say, well, they got till the end of the year to pass it in, so they'll get it in, I suppose.
And how are parents on the phone when a teacher talks to them?
Some of them will be supportive, as I said, but you will, I've spoken to colleagues that told me that when they call parents, the parent will say, they're in school, that's your work, you're getting paid to deal with those students.
And do they ever hang up?
Oh, lots of times. Lots of parents hang up on teachers.
It's part of society, isn't it? With parents, when you're dealing with parents or students, you're going to get a certain sector who are going to be challenging, and that's the same if you're dealing with anybody in any governmental office, right? You have that anywhere. I think most of us have positive interaction with parents, and we have positive supports from parents, but there are a certain number of them that are challenging, and you can understand what a child is, the way the child is.
Who else agrees that there are issues at times dealing with parents?
As you know, I deal with some of the most difficult children and things and behaviors in the school and stuff. I have had great support from my parents, and it has been wonderful, and support from the rest of the teachers and my administration stuff. I feel blessed, even though I'm in some of the most difficult situations. I'm blessed by the support, and they'll do anything for me and trying to help me solve issues. But I've also been the representative of the NLTA at my own school, and I have teachers who have come to me and have had parents hang up on them. They've had parents get up in their faces. Like, we've had to have parents escorted from parent-teacher interviews because a teacher has not felt comfortable, or else you make sure there's another teacher in the room with you or an administrator in the room with you.
What do you mean has not felt comfortable at the parent-teacher interview?
A parent has gotten irate over a situation and has not been nice to the teacher. And
So
I've
there's
had it-
there's an actual fear of the possibility of violence?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
How can parents help teachers?
I think I probably represent a unique group of students because I'm an ESL teacher, and one of the primary things that I do is get to know the parents because they come from so many different backgrounds and so many different places, a lot of difficult situations that they've come to. A lot of my students are refugees, and I have made some of my best friends in the last 15 years of parents of kids that I've taught. And the students often have a lot of difficulties. They don't speak the language. They might have seen trauma. But I find the parents in general are very, very supportive. And I always tell parents that one of the greatest things that they can do is just show interest in what their child is doing in school. I don't expect you to speak the language. I don't expect you to understand the assignments. The children will be able to do any assignment I give on their own. But if you will just show interest, you will help me. And I find that I get a lot of support from that. But I know that I am in a unique situation, and I'm very glad of it, and I just love my job.
Any other thoughts on how parents can help teachers in the classroom to make things better?
I think the biggest thing that we can do, whether we're colleagues or parents and teachers, is the whole communication and just being able to support each other in whatever way we can support each other. Whether it's having that child do the assigned work that's supposed to be done, because there is work that has to be done at home as well. Whether it's the communication to let us know if there's a problem. Because oftentimes, because of our class sizes and our sometimes the inability to go and meet that student, and we talked about behavior a little while ago, and we were talking about all the bad behaviors, but there's good behaviors too. And oftentimes we have that silent student that is sitting in your classroom, not able to do the work. And you're not able to help that child because you don't know that they're not able to do the work. So that communication with the home, whether they're communicating with a guidance counselor or a special ed teacher or the office or you directly, the communication is key. Because if I know that that student is not getting what they're supposed to be doing, then I can try to make the time to help that student or try to get some help for that student. And that we often refer to the child that falls between the cracks. That happens, and the crack is getting bigger. The bigger the class size, the bigger the crack.
The best thing about teaching is the students, right? Absolutely the best thing about teaching is the students. Yeah, there are challenges. There are parents who challenge you, yes. The worst thing about teaching is the bureaucracy. It's the political decisions that happen, as one of my colleagues said, based on 4-year terms, as another colleague said, based on budget lines, okay? We've heard people talk about cap sizes, and they've moved. Well, what are those cap sizes based on? I heard a former chief executive officer of the old English school district, Eastern School District, Newfoundland, Labrador, a few years ago, who's a very good researcher in his own right, say that at about 22 people in the classroom, once you pass through that threshold of 22 people, learning goes down. You know, so what are they basing their cap sizes on? You know, and you know, we're talking about our graduation rates being higher. Okay, I'd like to know that if the quality of the graduation rate is as high as it should be. We are being asked to make sure that kids get marks they need, get pushed through. You know, I'm a social studies teacher. I'm very interested in human interaction. Schools are microcosms of society. I want to know that those children, when they get older, are going to be able to lead, that they're going to be able to be leaders in our society who teach their children good things and not the bad. I want to know that they are literate. I want to know, like the progressive nations of the world, that we focus on education and not on the big projects that give us short-term gain. I want to see our society educated.
Is there less respect for teachers in general?
But I think there's certainly more frustration. This is a very difficult time to be a parent. And there's so many issues you're dealing with, and you're supposed to know everything. You know, I'd love for parents to know that we're in this together. And if we can work together, we can help any situation.
So much to think about in what you've had to say here. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining in on this conversation.